Atma Namaste, dear soul crafters. Welcome to my exclusive video podcast, Soul Crafting with Tanushri, Crafting Your Inner Awareness. Hi, I'm Tanushri Nair, your energy consciousness coach, author of the book Bring Out That Red Lipstick, certified emotional intelligence coach, and an energy worker. My mission is to create awareness in individuals, leaders, and entrepreneurs to manifest their innate energy balance for success and leadership through my inner Shakti blueprint for an empathetic world. Today is a new episode with a new guest of season 2, this Conscious Feminine Energy Leadership series. A quote I heard somewhere says, true leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. This podcast is for all those people who are in the daily grind of life, who need a hand to learn self mastery of their thoughts, emotions, and inner self, and move to the next level of achieving their purpose of life. Join me as I share, discuss, and ruminate how to carve out that heroine's journey with my esteemed guests to maximize your inner potential and to bring your inner divine Shakti leader. This channel is for all those who are seeking an inside out transformation. Hello and a warm welcome, Michelle, to our show. So glad to have you on Soul Crafting with Tanushri.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for taking time out. So, friends, Michelle Butt has studied human behavior and facial nuances for over 10 years now and has developed a facial intelligence body of work. By using facial intelligence and holistic life coaching techniques, clients are taken through a process of holistic human understanding where they discover how their face and body reflect their emotional, mental, and personality patterns and how to reconcile life experiences and decisions to change the trajectory of the circumstances. This is so interesting. Just by reading your face, you can bring in so much of a change. And Michelle assists her clients with removing the barriers they have to living their most prosperous life. In addition, Michelle also helps coaches, consultants, salespeople, and leaders to choose to close more of their one-on-one sales calls using her FAST method. The FAST method is a facial acuity selling tactics. Welcome to our show, Michelle, and it's so interesting to have you, a person with such a unique niche and something that is very intriguing about. We do speak about body language and our gestures, our postures, and how much it contributes to the non-verbal communication that we have. So, Michelle,
Yes.
we're waiting to hear all about you, your journey into entrepreneurship. How did you chance upon into coming into business?
Oh, well, yeah, that's a journey. So I used to work in corporate. I'm sure many of us have, especially female entrepreneurs. And after I had my children, I didn't want to go back to a structured 9 to 5 um, type of environment. So in my corporate work, I did do a lot of coaching in a management role. So I thought, all right, this is the direction I want to go in. So I took some coaching certifications and I started my journey as a coach. And as I started that journey and as things were progressing in my personal life, I began to see that people don't always say exactly what's going on in their brain. They want to, but they just can't often find the words or find the problem or find the explanation. So I thought there has to be a better way of understanding what people are saying when they're not saying anything. And that's how I came across face reading. I found a book in one of my inspiration places is the bookstore. So I wandered through the bookstore and I found a book on face reading and I read it cover to cover within a day and a half. And I said, this is the thing. And so I found the person who wrote the book and she was my mentor for 2 years.
Wow.
And I just learned those techniques and then took all of the things that I had learned throughout my life, like body language and my degrees in linguistics. So putting all of that together into a way to let people understand faces in our modern day context and with language that doesn't scare people or sound too woo woo. So, and so that's what facial intelligence is.
Wow. I mean, a face, a smile, a gesture would say so much about you. And I think, yeah, you like you mentioned, it's just that you were in the right place at the right time to get your
Mm-hmm.
right purpose of life, and the book fell in your
Mm-hmm.
lap straight away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think we
Isn't that
find
the way it happens?
inspiration and our paths in very unique ways that is only known to us in some way or the other. And
Exactly.
this is very interesting. So when you identified that your niche is facial intelligence, how did it affect your perspective when you were meeting people now? Because while this is like the story my sister used to say, she's a dentist by profession, and she used to say that the first year of her dental school, she went to college and she came back and she used to always keep looking at everybody's teeth while they were speaking. you know you tend to become that aware about the kind of work that you're doing. And now, how did your perspective change when you started reading faces?
Yeah, it's so, you know what, it changed a lot initially, and you're right. You start to kind of focus on, oh my gosh, look at that nose or look at those eyebrows, and because you're just trying to assimilate and incorporate the information that you have. And so, the premise of facial intelligence is that each feature, marking, or wrinkle on our face tells us something about our behavioral patterns and our personality, both that innate one that we chose by choosing this space when we came into these bodies, and how we are interacting with and responding to our environment. So initially, you're just trying to, study for an exam. Okay, eyebrows mean this and noses mean this. But after a while, as you start to see more and more faces and put all the pieces together more holistically, you begin to see the energy of the face, and you begin to understand the patterns of the features as they interact with each other, to say, okay, this is what this person is like, or this is what they're going through that they're not really able to say, because when they look in the mirror, they're not seeing themselves the way I'm seeing them. And so that's kind of the progression from, new student and novice coach to 11 years later. This is how
Yes,
I see
yes.
people.
And how do clients, I mean, do they come with caution, or is it like, because they know that there are things that they might not immediately say, but you might realize there is much more to the story that they're saying? And how have clients taken this, or how has it impacted for them?
Well, the thing is, that's a very interesting question, because over the years, the way that clients come has progressed as well. Because initially, I was like, oh, I'm a face reader. So people thought it was like palm reading or psychic reading or something. So they come and they want all this information about their future. And that's not what the work is all about at all. So it took some time to really articulate what it was. And that's where facial intelligence branding and concept came from, because it's like, this is your innate intelligence that is looking back at you. So once I changed the definition of the work, then people came with, okay, I want to understand me better. I want to understand how I impact the world. I want to understand how this little piece of real estate, this little facial space here, drives my business or drives my relationships. And so now they come because they want to understand how to interact with their world better. Before, it was just like, oh, tell me something about me that, so it's very different
Yeah.
energy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because most times it will be like, I would like somebody to tell me how, what is going on, what is happening with me, with, and sometimes we feel that, we don't have that clarity within ourselves, and that's why I expect somebody else coming out and saying that I can read faces. But yes, there is a different how the definition and or how we are positioning ourselves makes a whole difference to the whole kind of work, the area of work that we are doing. You mentioned something about wrinkles, while we
Hmm.
were speaking, and you mentioned that you could put these patterns together of, the wrinkle and the, eye movement, and how our eyebrows shapes are, and how I would like to know more about this. This is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I look at it is that the features that you're born with, even though they morph a little bit through time, those are the key features that define how you chose to look at the world. So, you choose your parents, if you believe that. I do.
I do.
And so you come in and you choose this set of DNA, and as a result you get this face, and that face in its pure form says, with those eyebrows, you're going to be logical. You're going to need to think in terms of strategy. And, or with that nose, you're going to be very perfectionistic, and you're going to very much care about the quality of your work. And you're very sensitive to energy, that kind of thing. So that is, when I look at someone and I see their features, if they haven't changed them too much through, injury or cosmetic surgery, or we manipulate with makeup, that kind of thing. But for the most part, that's who we are. And so when we look in the mirror, that's what we see. And if you can understand those combinations of features, you can understand how you see the world every day, your relationships, your business, how somebody else may do things and it takes them 3 weeks. And for you, if you sit down, it takes you 3 hours, because that's what your face says. Wrinkles, I feel, are one of the golden nuggets in the face, because they tell us the patterns of emotions and thinking that we are in for a long time. And so they can be those little warning signs that tell us, hey, something's up and you're thinking a certain way, and maybe it's not serving you. So why don't you look at that? So there are wrinkles we're supposed to get, like, the ones around the face, the
Close.
eyes, they
Yeah.
call them crow's feet. In face reading, we call them joy lines. So they mean that you smile a lot and that you're happy a lot and that your heart is open. So when you see those, in the mirror, you want to embrace those, because that says, I'm often in a pattern of joy. However, there are wrinkles that will say you're in a pattern of disappointment, or you're in a pattern of lack, or you're in a pattern of grief. And those are the ones that you want to take a look at, because maybe those patterns aren't serving you. They're not serving you in your business or in your relationships. Because even though we can't all yet consciously read faces the way I do, we do unconsciously read faces. And so when we see a face that has like lines that make your mouth look like this all the time, it's someone who oftentimes feels like they're an overgiver, and the world is against them in a lot of ways, or nothing ever really works out, or they're disappointed. And when we look at that in somebody else's face, we think, oh, I don't know, never going to be able to please that person, unconsciously. So it's going to be really hard, or this person's always going to push back, or nothing's going to be enough. And so how do you, if you're in business and that's your face all the time, how are you going to get clients or customers when they think, oh, she's not going to be easy to deal with? So, these little things, once we understand them, we can start shifting, like, oh, why am I like that? Maybe it's because I do everything by myself and I need to enlist some help, or, I need to smile more and do that so that I change the frown to joy,
Yeah. So it means that it is reversible. So the patterns that we see on our face to a certain extent are reversible.
Yes, that's been my experience to a certain extent. Yes, because the face is a reflection of who your inner world. And so when you change the way you think and feel, then you're going to change what's reflecting on the outside. And if, that's why I say even things like plastic surgery, they're temporary, because unless you, in the time that you've made that change, you also change the way you think and feel, then you're going to still unconsciously have the physical reaction to an emotion that will cause a wrinkle on your face, because you're going to make the expression that
Yes.
will eventually come back into that,
So
you know.
the inner thing is still going to be the same whether you do any cosmetic
Yes.
changes to your face or not. It is eventually going to still show off in some or the other way. It will come in picture. That's awesome. That's a revelation for me today. I was wondering, if you do cosmetic surgeries, then how come people would still be able to read the face in the same way? But yes, like you mentioned, we are carrying those patterns within us and not just on our face. The face is a mirror, it shows what we are within. And that
Yes.
also
Yes.
brings me to another question of, while we were discussing the other day, you mentioned about how you can manage your energy by looking in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you throw some more light on this?
Yes, absolutely. So one way is to understand what your face is telling you when you look in the mirror. Because if you see, for example, the pattern we were just talking about, that, oh wow, I'm just looking and I'm in neutral and my face looks like it's this, then you're giving off the energy of someone who is in that current state disappointed with life. So by recognizing that, then you can say, well, I want to shift this. So how do I do that? And in face reading, there's some subtle clues. You can do some energetics in your environment to boost the energy of the archetype that each feature is associated with. And that's really if things aren't that far gone and you just think, okay, I need to change my environment a little bit. But you can also then start thinking about this. What pattern am I in? When does this happen? And okay, one of the tips that I give people that is really I call it the dollar store facelift is, when you're alone for a little while, take some Scotch tape and put it on that wrinkle. And every time you feel that pull, then oh, I just made that expression. I was just thinking or feeling a certain way. And then you can monitor, what was that? And maybe every time you sit down to do work, you think, oh, no one else is helping me. And then you make that face. And so then, oh, okay, now I know where it's coming from. I can begin to shift the energy around that by enlisting help or thinking differently, like, oh, I want to be alone in my business. I like being a solopreneur. And so that will shift the energy that way.
That's such a wonderful tip. And I think something so simple and anyone can practice this just to check out, like, what is happening on your face. Because most times, I think only when we when we get dressed, we are looking at the mirror, or, when we have to adjust something on our face, we are looking at the mirror. But while working, we don't really know what expressions we are making. And we do make a whole lot of expressions, even if we are working alone. Even
Yeah,
if you're just looking at a
exactly.
laptop, you will be making so many expressions, and knowingly, unknowingly, it is because the thoughts are running in your mind. It's almost like you're talking to yourself, and it's like, it
Yeah,
just happens. And you so
absolutely.
acknowledge those expressions, those thoughts through our expressions. Such a wonderful tip of using a Scotch tape. I should definitely try this.
Yeah, and even if you want to understand, the good wrinkles like these, to say, "Oh my gosh, I had Scotch tape on my, joy lines for 15 minutes, and that tape pulled like every 2 seconds. Geez, I'm a happy person, So just even that will just keep you in. We don't always have to be looking for the negative energy. We
No,
can be
yeah, but
looking
it
for
is
the
such a
positive as
wonderful
well.
way. Yeah, it's wonderful way of bringing an awareness, because sometimes we tend to externalize so much that we don't realize that, there are so many things that we are doing with ourselves or within ourselves. And yes, even if it is a good sign or a good wrinkle or a not so great wrinkle. But
Yeah.
I think just doing this exercise without the wrinkle also will make you feel like which muscles of your face have been used at the
Yeah.
time,
Yes, absolutely.
and how tense it
Absolutely.
gets, how relaxed it feels. You'll automatically feel those things. That's a wonderful way to bring in self awareness. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the movement, if it's done over time consistently, will eventually create the wrinkle, but the wrinkle may not be there yet. And so, that's a different, once your ability gets very, very fine tuned, then as people are talking to you, you can watch the features that are moving and you can tell by which ones are moving that, oh, they just thought this way or they just thought that way. And if they keep thinking this over and over, eventually there may be a wrinkle that shows up there. So this is, that kind of fluid face reading that once you've had a lot of practice, you can begin to get really well. But you can do that with tape. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's, I think it's a wonderful tool, what you mentioned, like um, how to get aware, or how to become more aware about what's happening to us, but also start observing others around us while we are doing this. Because, like you mentioned, it does make a big difference in your business, in your personal life too. Definitely, with how we interact with our spouses, with our people, with our friends and relatives around us, and how relationships can get strained just because of a kind of a look or a kind of an expression that we made. But also in business, I think it makes a huge difference um, where you don't want to give away a lot of things, but also be present in the moment and you know um, show bring the best out of you at that point. And maybe the small things that is happening in the background with us, we don't realize it then. But with this exercise, I think when we become more aware about ourselves, about how we are, why we might be talking to our customers, that's a great piece of that's a great tool to have, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the other really important thing that I realized very early on when I started this work was that not everyone is you. And even though they may be coming to you because they like the same things, like, oh, they want to manage their energy, or, they want to buy your face cream, their reason for wanting it will be different from yours because their face is different. And so when you can recognize, oh, they really need to hear about the benefits for their family or their health from this thing, whereas for you it was, a financial thing, or it was exciting. And so you begin to learn how to quickly adjust the way you talk about situations or things or products so that it's more resonant with the way that face that you're speaking to needs to understand the benefits of that thing than just from your own perspective. Because when you start just putting it from your own perspective, even though they are the ideal customer, they may be like, yeah, but no, that's not why I want it, so it's not for me. But it
Yeah,
may be for them, but you just need to know how they need to hear it.
yeah, speaking their language. That's
Exactly.
exactly, yes, speaking the customer's language. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That's very
Yeah.
interesting. So,
Yeah.
Michelle, moving forward, we all have successes, we all have setbacks when we are building our businesses. As a woman, we also balance different roles. And
Mm-hmm.
would you like to share one prominent episode of a success and one of a setback that changed the course for you?
Yes. Well, I think the earliest success that I think solidified me in this niche was, initially I just was doing coaching based on a coaching protocol that I had been given in my studies. And I had a client who was coming to me, and she would, come for a few months and then she'd go away and then she'd come back. And the problem was the same over and over. And I kept thinking, this stuff is supposed to work. Like, am I doing this wrong? What is it? And through the course of that time, I had also begun this face reading journey. And And one day she came back into my office, and I just looked at her, and I saw on her face what the problem was, that she couldn't articulate and that we didn't know. And really it had to do with her nose. She had a nose that said she was very much a perfectionist, and she always would, see how things should be before she went into any situation. And then if anything went wrong, it would give her complete anxiety and, just blow up relationships for her. And so I just looked at her and I said, okay, the answer is in your nose. And then we talked about that. We talked about what her nose meant and how she sees the world. And she was like, that's exactly it. So she just started changing her expectations, and she started changing the way she spoke to people in her life. Saying, this is me. Like when we plan an outing, I have it all worked out. And if it goes wrong, then I'm stressed, and so people started to begin to understand her, because she was able to say, this is who I am, and this is why I behave this way. And after that, within a year, she started her own business. Within 2 years, she found her life partner, got married, and she just recently wrote a book and had a baby. So it
Wonderful.
was, it was like, okay, this is your work. So do
That's a
this
breakthrough. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
wonderful breakthrough, because understanding this is such a wonderful tool for coaches, because
Mm-hmm.
there are so many different ways we try to question, or put the right questions in front of the clients. And maybe not all questions resonate with them, but something like a non-verbal thing, I think it's wonderful that while we are doing so many things and trying to find the meaning behind the words that they are saying, I think this just gave you a direct access with what you have been seeing from so many
Mm-hmm.
sessions, but it kind of give you direct access to her inner world.
Yes, exactly. And it wasn't that the protocols weren't working. It was just they weren't addressing the right thing. And so then, we could use the tools to get to that space for her. So, yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. I have come to realize that to maintain your energy, your flow, your effectiveness, we have to maintain a self-care,
Mm-hmm.
ritual or practices. It is very important. I realize this so much because, like I mentioned, as women, we, balance different roles. We keep switching between different roles, and to stay in our own zone sometimes, to have that me time, to have in our own zone, and then step into a role of a mother, a wife, or a businesswoman, or a friend, or a shoulder to cry on. We have to maintain some our inner world to a certain extent. And as an entrepreneur, what is your typical morning or a night ritual like?
My morning routine is, I think, the most important one for me, because I like to get up. I will meditate. I will go for a walk. If it's really cold here, then I'll do some other kind of light exercise. And then one thing that I realized I do, as you had asked this question, and is that I do, when I go into just to get ready for the first time in the day, I really take a good hard look in the mirror every morning, because for me that tells me, okay, where are you at, and what, are you rested? Is there something that's blinking at you that says, oh, hey, look at that, look at what you're doing with your face. Is that serving you? Is there something to be aware of? Because for me, this is the gauge of what my inner process is like. And so I do spend time looking in the mirror. Most of the time we rush through that, or we're trying to put on our makeup and change things. But I really try to look at that fresh morning face and say, okay, what are you telling me about where I'm at today? And then based on that information, when I'm through getting ready, I'll journal and have my coffee and then start my day.
Yeah, we have to practice ourselves before we preach it to others.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's a wonderful me connection time to have, when before the start of the day to just, stay there, be stable, be steady for some time before you just get into the hustle bustle of the day. That's
Yeah.
great. Thanks for sharing that. Michelle, do share what your favorite quote is, which quote inspires you and why.
Oh, the one that has always inspired me, and it hasn't shifted, is it's from Gandhi. It's be the change you wish to see in the world. And I think, especially in this world that we're in today, that, you know, for me, that is really about just holding the line, keeping your energy the way that you want it to be, and being the person that you wish the world could see and everyone else could reflect. And so that is the number one for me.
Great. Any tip you want to share with our followers?
Sorry, a
Any
tip?
tip you would like to share with our
Mhm.
followers?
Yeah, I think, it's really important to look in the mirror, and even if you're not, a face reader, just there will always be something that is kind of a little flashing light at you saying, hey, notice me. And whatever that is, whether it's your nose or whether if it's a new blemish, just ask intuitively, what is this about? What are you trying to tell me? And most often you'll get a hit that will start you pulling the thread to unravel whatever you need to unravel. And it may not necessarily be what you thought it was, and that's often the case. So this beautiful self-awareness without judgment, but just with a desire to know yourself better, I think is is the way to see yourself in the mirror.
That's
So that would
wonderful
be my
tip
tip.
actually. Yes, because accepting, acknowledging where we are at this point of time makes a whole difference to how we'll step out of that space and then embrace others around us. Because till we don't, yes, and I so much agree to what you said, that taking that one look in the mirror in the morning, whether you are a face reader or not, makes a whole lot of difference, because you start studying yourself, you start exploring your own face, and you once you start doing it, I think over some days you'll start realizing something has changed on your face, and you will
Mm-hmm.
be able to catch those early signs early on, rather than till you actually get some feeling on the face, or get some major symptom on your body. I think the face, yes, it does express when we are tired, when we are happy, when we are sad, when we are ecstatic, when we are grateful, when we are thankful. Every small expression. And that's why even in dance, I think there are different there in like classical Indian dances, there are navrasas, and there is 9 type of emotions or 9 expressions that you can get on your face. And it's such a wonderful, it's an open book basically.
Mm-hmm.
I think for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, our faces are an open book, and why not use this tool to improve our own self-awareness. Thanks so much for sharing that tip. And I would like Michelle to share about her course, or the facial intelligence course that she does offer, because I think it's a wonderful, wonderful addition, and it's kind of a life skill I feel that one should have.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so twice a year I run the Holistic Human Understanding Academy, which is full in-depth face reading and energetic understanding for people who really are in coaching or practitioner work. And so that begins again in October. But I am running an introductory to face reading course 2 weeks from today. I don't know when this is airing, but on September 22nd. But those run every month or so. So if anyone is interested, they can just reach out, and I can let them know when the next one runs. But that's the way for, if you're just like, well, I want a taste of the work, I want to know what this is all about. That's the one to take. It's a couple of hours, and we go through the basics. And then if it resonates with you and you think it's really something you need for your life or your business, then the academy opens October and May.
Okay. And these links will be available on your social media platforms
Yes.
that you are in. I'll definitely be sharing the coordinates of Michelle's online presence in the description below and how you can get in touch with her for her course, because I think definitely you should have give a try for yourself sake. I don't know about others, but I think for self you should definitely have a check on how you can the introductory course that she is going to have, and then go ahead for a full course, in fact. So, thank you so much, Michelle, taking time out from your busy schedule and joining us for the show. We wish you and your business higher successes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So, dear listeners and viewers, the links to Michelle Bird's online business presence is in the description below. With this, we come to an end to today's episode of Soul Crafting with Tanushree, the Conscious Energy Leadership series. Thank you so much. This was yet another interesting discussion with our guest having a very unique niche. The conscious energy leader brings with them a deep exploration of their thoughts and derive energy from this constant awareness and inner guidance. To know more about how I do this for my clients, you can head over to my website www.tanushreenair.com or subscribe to my newsletters or connect to me with on my FB page Tanushree Nair. On Instagram, I am there as Soulful Living with Tanushree. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel Tanushree Nair by pressing the bell icon. Thank you for joining me in today's episode, and until we meet again, stay safe, stay inspired. You're all loved. Peace, love, and light.